General Committee meeting is being held with members of General Committee, members of the Executive Management Team, the Deputy City Clerk, and the City Clerk in the Council Chambers. Members of the Senior Leadership Team and other staff are available to answer questions in person and via video conference. I want to start tonight with some rather sad news. The Barrie community has lost two of its most valuable members in the past week. First, on behalf of the General Committee, I would like to express our sincere condolences to the family of Will Dwyer. Will brought our community together through his passion for fundraising and supported many causes. However, his commitment and dedication to the Terry Fox Run was unparalleled. As most people probably know, Will participated in every Terry Fox Run since its conception, and in 2019 he achieved his goal of raising $1 million in pledges, making him Barrie's $1 million man. Despite health challenges and COVID restrictions, Will continued to pursue his passion for supporting the Terry Fox Foundation and even extended his fundraising goal, raising over $1.2 million for the cause. Will served in the military for 25 years, including World War II, was awarded a Queen's Jubilee Medal, and was a proud recipient of the City of Barrie Spirit Catcher Award in 2018. He passed away peacefully Saturday morning at RVH at the age of 96. Secondly, on behalf of this committee, I'd like to express our sincere condolences to the family of Tom McBride. Tom moved to Barrie in 1977 and was well known throughout the city for his community involvement, including serving as the president of the Barrie Chamber of Commerce, being a member of the Plan Giving Council of Simcoe County, and Advocates Canada, for which he received the National Quality Award. Tom also served as chairperson of the Capital Campaign for Gilda's Club Simcoe Muskoka and helped raise $3.5 million for the organization that helps people living with cancer. Among his many accomplishments, hard work, and generosity, Tom also played an integral role in developing the McLaren Arts Centre as president of its board of directors when it's moved into its current home. He also served as chairperson of Georgian College Board of Governors and was active in politics, having served as president of the Federal Liberal Riding Association and helped run many successful political campaigns. I was at his celebration of life today, and I thought that Mary Lynn West Moynes, who's the president of Georgian College, said it best. He said Tom was not one to serve on the sidelines. He passed away at the age of 72 after a lengthy battle with cancer. Okay, the first item on the agenda tonight is the consent agenda. For the consent items, I will read out the title associated with the recommended motions printed on the agenda. Members of General Committee may ask that an item be held so that it can be further discussed. If an item is not held, the motion is deemed to be approved on consent. No further discussion of the item will take place in General Committee and will go forward to the May 16th Council meeting for approval. First item is reports of reference advisory or special committees. Report of the Finance and Corporate Services Committee dated April 26, 2022 to be received. First item is the 2021 Invest Management Annual Report. It's approved. Next is the 2022 First Quarter Internal Audit Status Report. It's approved. Next, amendment to the Seniors Advisory Committee Terms of Reference. It's approved. Report of the City Building Committee dated May 3rd, 2022. To be received, Nature Barrie Bird Friendly designation. It to be approved. Next is the Municipal Heritage Registry for 101 Cumberland Street and 11 Rodney Street. It is approved. Application to amend application to alter designated heritage building, the Armory Building at 36 Mulcaster Street. See no holds. It's approved. We have several staff reports on tonight's agenda. The staff reports held during the consent portion of the agenda will now, Sandbox Center. First report is the Sandbox Center. Report back and lease extension request. Does anybody want that item held? See none? It's approved. Next item is the Allandale Transit Mobility Hub and Downtown Mini Hub. Does anybody want that item held? Held by Councillor Jim Harris. The next item is the retention of 29 and 35 Sperling Drive. Does anybody want that item held? See none. It's approved. The 2021 Annual Procurement Activity Report. See no holds. That's approved. The 2022 tax rates. It's approved. The 2022 Downtown Barrie Business Association levy. no holds, it's approved. We have one item for discussion, and that's an invitation to invite the McLaren Arts Centre to present to Council. Does anybody want that item held? It's approved. Okay. Only a single, everything was approved except for a single item, and that was the Allandale Transit Mobility and Hub and Downtown Mini Hub. It was held by Councillor Jim Harris. Councillor Harris.
Great. Thank you, Acting Mayor Ward. I'll put it on the floor as printed. And I just have a few questions and maybe just to highlight, and thank you, staff, for the report. Recognizing this is an item that's been, I think this council actually inherited the plans to make the changes to the transit hub in Barrie and make the Allandale the feature hub. So we see that there's a number of factors, some most beyond our control, that have delayed the project. So I just wanted to note, with some of the items we clearly identified in the report, thank you again for the report, that we don't have a sense of the time of the delays. I think one that I noted was particularly Metrolinx and them having, now having, apparently, and we didn't believe they would at first, but they have standing, and the report, and it's paragraph 36, if you're following along, was at this Metrolinx review timelines are unknown at this time, but are expected to be lengthy. Just wondered, and I know it's tough, and if there was you had the answer, you would have put it in the report. I respect that, but given the sense that the time delays, the number of delays, and there's a timeline on the funding, the infrastructure program funding. Is it safe to say that the project, the delays that could be faced, will not impact the grants that we received? And maybe that's through you, Deputy Mayor, if that's to say O'Prowse, or who that would be the best person. Thank you.
Sure, and I'm not sure the report was written by Mr. Hughes, but other people's names are on it, so I
Pardon
don't know.
me.
Yeah, I don't know who wants to answer that one. Go to start with Mr. Prowse.
Through you, Acting Mayor Ward, to Councillor Jim Harris. I would defer to Mr. Hughes, and Mr. Forsyth may have some input on that as well.
Mr. Hughes?
Through Deputy Mayor Ward, to Councillor Harris. So it is our understanding that the funding would not be impacted. We have started down the path of advising ISIP. We have been advised it is an election year at the province as well, so there are additional delays there, and of course the government authorities are not going to provide any absolutes at this point. So we've got positive messaging, but it is at this point just that messaging.
Great, thank you, and maybe a follow-up, Acting Ward.
And
thank you, Mr. Hughes. I should have went to you, so thank you for being here. I didn't see you over there. Just wondering also with the Metrolinx having, it talked about they have plans as well, electrification of their line. Is there any sense, I guess that's part of maybe the discussion, that it will alter in much fashion what we've seen and what I know some of the community in Allandale has seen some of the planning, and there's been some engagement, which has been great. Is there any sense that there would be much impact on the design and the planning that's been put forward for the Allandale Transit Hub?
Mr. Hughes?
Through Deputy Mayor Ward to Councillor Harris. There is not that we've seen, the electrification of the rail line is going to take up additional space, and there's going to be lay down space, that sort of thing, but we're not anticipating significant changes based on what we've seen. However, they haven't finished their plans yet. So, again, that was another one of those caveats. Something could change along the way that we're just not aware of.
Great, thank you. And maybe one last question, and another item that we didn't anticipate being that we'd have to answer to was the Ontario Heritage, and there's pros and cons to everything. Obviously, maybe the con would be the cost for the standards. I think it's at 15 to 30% possibly increase in cost. Can you speak a bit to maybe some of the pros that would be associated with the Ontario Heritage having a connection and following those guidelines with relation to this project?
Mr. Hughes?
Again, through your worship Deputy Mayor Ward to Councillor Harris. I think the biggest one that comes to mind, so this is going to be probably one of the very first projects that kicks off the redevelopment of Essa Road. The original plan was to build, effectively a standalone building that provided a service. And as we've gone through the work and the discussions that we've had with the Heritage Committee and others in our planning department, we've kind of come, around to the idea that, really we should kind of walk the talk. If this is what we want to set the standard for the community and what development is going to look like, we have to be able to follow all the rules and regulations that we expect others to follow and potentially even take to the next level. And that's the same sort of thing that we're doing for the net zero. The reason why we're doing that, we're trying to set that standard.
Yeah, great, thank you. Thanks for mentioning the net zero as well. It's another cost, but another positive outcome of the cost is the net zero build. And I think I had one more question, but I think I might hold it there in case, anyway, on behalf of Heritage Bear, I know for our chair, Councillor Rietma, appreciate the heritage piece around that part of town and the rail and transportation. So knowing that there's going to be a real attention to the heritage features is a positive. So thank you for that.
Okay, and Councillor Rietma is next.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And I just have one question, and I'm not sure if I read your report correctly or not, and I can't find the reference to it at the moment, but did I read it correctly that at this point we have sufficient budget, but at some point in the future we might need to look for another $6 million or thereabouts? Did I read that correctly, or am I missing something?
Mr. Hughes?
So what we have, and again, there's no guarantees here, we have within the city, and Mr. Forsyth can provide more detail on this, but the city has been awarded, allocated, I think is a better term, $27 million and some odd thousand for transit infrastructure upgrades. So our current ISIP application form for this project identifies a $10.2-ish million project. We do have additional funding has been allocated towards the city, and it's our understanding through conversations with the ISIP folks that we could basically change our application to something different and use more of that money that we have. However, it's not approved yet, so again, there's no guarantees. And I don't know if Mr. Forsyth has anything else to add.
Anything you wanted to add?
Sure. Through Acting Mayor Ward to Councillor Rietma. So basically the way the ISIP program worked is each city was allocated a pot of money based on their ridership back from 2017 or something like that. And our calculation came up to about 55 million. And so before before the Allandale, the change here to the Allandale project, we'd already allocated about 38 million of that 55 million to things like our bus replacement program and some of our on-street bus stop work and pretty much all of our transit capital programs. And so we still had this unallocated portion of about 17 million or so that we've been able to allocate towards this project. It still requires approval, but it is within the city's allocation through the total ISIP program.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Jim Harris.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor Ward. I know it's in the report, but just for those who may not have read the report and may be watching, I know you've covered it, but if you could maybe explain the current historic Allandale waterfront station. It's mentioned that it was reviewed as a potential site. If you could just maybe, through you, Acting Mayor Ward, maybe Mr. Hughes, just explain that was vetted and what the outcome of that decision was. Thank you.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes, thank you for the question through Deputy Mayor Ward to Councillor Harris. Yes, we did look at that. We do have previous direction from Council to use that facility for other uses. However, we did look at it. A number of factors came into play. So some of our risks that we have, the Metrolinx input, the Heritage and the Ontario Heritage Trust, those are absolutely still in play, and I'd suggest the Ontario Heritage Trust impact is going to be much greater because it is already a registered heritage facility, whereas the building that we're building would have heritage aspects, but it's a brand new building, so it's not technically a heritage building. We also have the archaeology work that's continuing on the site. We hope to be able to complete that, as quickly as possible, but the reality is even after that work is completed, we still have multiple approvals and multiple levels of government, different ministries that have to approve the overall plan. So again, that's a project that we're basically waiting on. Before we can do any development of that site, we have to have those approvals. So we have plans for it, but we haven't acted on those plans because, frankly, we can't yet. And again, that was part of the reason why this site was, it was reviewed and discounted.
Great, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, Councillor Jim Harris put the motion on the floor. All in favor? Against? It's carried. Believe it or not, we are now at inquiries. Do we have any inquiries from members of General Committee? Councillor McCann?
Thank you, Acting Mayor Ward. Maybe just a question for Mr. Hughes while he's on the hot seat tonight. First of all, thank you for opening up the washrooms at Queen's Park. I've had quite a few tennis members ask to inquire about that, and that was happened super fast and efficiently, and that's really appreciated, and that actually echoed through the community. Garbage. I know that Mr. Ferrari and I had a good conversation, and we were not having regular garbage cans because of the vandalism and maybe the misuse of it. And forgive me, I haven't been down there this year. Do we have garbages down at Queen's Park? And if we don't, are we setting up a system to put garbage in the Queen's Park facility and parks in general?
Is that for you, Mr. Hughes, or?
Sure. I guess clarification first. Are you referring to garbage cans in the washroom building itself or out in the park?
Sorry, Rick. No, I'm talking about like the garbage within the park, right? Spread out across the park. I think there was an issue past 2-3 years where there were needles, there were
There
people
has been.
vandalizing the garbage cans.
That
So we're
would
going to
be
have a
a-
system where you dug in the hole and
Yeah,
all that kind of good?
the Moloch system. That would be a question for either Mr. Fryer if he's online or perhaps
Mr. Friary, are you online? You might be muted if you're online. Oh, there you
Deputy
are.
Mayor
Great.
Ward and members of committee, we have been investigating the use of the mullocks, as Mr. Pugh said. So they are an in-ground permanent solution. We can also add the green seasonal receptacles as well that are collected. So, we'd certainly be happy to review and install any cans that are necessary. As mentioned previously, we have had issues with needles and things like that in there, but if it's the request of the tennis club, we can certainly put some temporary units in there. We have installed a unit at the skate park, and I believe there's also one over by the baseball diamond as well. But happy to investigate the option.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrari. And since it's 7:19, I'm sure we'd all want to spend a little more time here together. Maybe I'll ask a further question. So you said you're going to investigate the mullards or the permanent garbage. What's the timeline? Like, what's the outcome? When will you make that decision? Being that summer's kind of here and the parks are going to start getting used.
Mr. Friary?
Deputy Mayor Ward and members of the committee, we do have a installation program in place where we have so many a year to install. We're trying to get away from those green temporary containers. So I can certainly investigate and get back to you via email later this week on the request. Seeing the location, the accessibility for our collection vehicles on a year-round basis, it shouldn't be an issue. So I can commit to getting back to you before the end of the week by email.
Thank you. Through Acting Mayor Ward. Yeah, this is definitely not a request, just a question, but I just think with the management of parks that we had over COVID, I think it'd be great if we actually had some garbage cans there. I know it's a question that all tennis players ask continually because there is no garbage can. So a temporary use, if you're wondering what my opinion would be great, and a permanent garbage facility within the park, I think is a great idea because it solves all problems, and an email back would be sufficient. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McCann. Councillor Kungle.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Barry Ward. I have one question for Mr. Friary. I had the pleasure of meeting with stormwater staff and some other individuals in Ward 3 today, and it was in response to resident concerns about the number of goldfish that have been released into a stormwater retention pond. And pleased to see how responsive staff were to that, but was surprised at the number of concerns that this raises. And I was wondering if you could speak to the issue and if there's a communication to residents about preventing that invasive species from being released, and if there's any next steps we can do to support that as council through communications.
Mr. Friery.
Deputy Mayor Ward and members of the committee, certainly happy to work with Access Barrie and get a communication plan out. We always communicate that invasive species, you certainly don't want to introduce or release into the environment. So in this case, goldfish being released into a storm pond. As you know, the storm ponds lead into lakes, creeks, etc. So this one that you're discussing would lead directly into Little Lake, which is part of the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority. So they would have some information as well on, the practices of not introducing these species into the environment. So certainly something that we wouldn't want to do, and it's the same with planting of invasive species or discarding of those species into naturalized areas around the city. So happy to work with Access Barrie, get some information, some communication out and about. Typically what we do with whenever we clean out ponds as well, we actually go around, do like door knockers, door hangers with a little bit of public education. So we would be happy to, in that area, deliver some of those information packets, as well as I said, work with Access Barrie and get something on the website and also through social media.
Thank you, and just my compliments. Residents that saw staff out today were very impressed with the responsiveness and the addressing of that concern, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Kungl. Councillor Morales.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Ward. And I'll make a quick question for Mr. Fryer as well, since my colleagues have been teasing me that I've been pretty quiet lately. The Moloch bins. Mr. Fryer, do you know if any of the Moloch bins that we have out right now, do they have the optional key lock on the actual Moloch bin?
Deputy Mayor Ward and members of committee, we do have them on selected containers. It just depends on where it is. If we've identified an area that we've had illegal dumping complaints, so where people would come and throw their personal garbage, etc., we would actually put a lock on it. And there's also areas within parks that we cannot access year-round, so we don't want them overfilling either. So there are a number of locations that do have the lock, but the plan is to have them open year-round in order to give residents access to garbage.
Perfect. And my question was actually celebrating the locks when necessary. I took an extensive look at Moloch, their website here for the North American division, and the locks are sold for, the intended use is for either condo complexes, where the condo complex can give the owners a lock so people aren't dumping in the middle of the night, or downtowns. Usually downtowns is where it has this. So, during normal hours, operations probably 7, 8 in the morning goes on, unlocks it, and then it's for use, and then maybe around 6, 7, whatever, maybe it gets locked up, and maybe merchants, if they need to throw garbage in night shifts, they have access to it. So it's actually a good option. It doesn't sound as restrictive. And just my personal very quick feedback is Moloch bins are the future, period. The garbage lives inside the ground. It's not smelly. It doesn't overflow. It's environmentally more responsible because it actually reduces the number of pickups that needs to be done, and it's been around for decades. So I'm actually really glad to see and hope that the pilot or the review succeeds.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any inquiries? Seeing none, we'll move on to announcements. Councillor Thompson and Councillor Rima.
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor Ward, I have two announcements. The first is this Saturday at Lampman Lane, we're having the Urban Pantry Community Garden Party. It's from 11 a.m. till 3 p.m. So excited about that. And second, we did a Spring Into Clean on April 29th in the Pringle Park area, and some of the residents thought, maybe to clean out their garages, and so they're going to have a neighborhood garage party starting at 9 a.m. So everybody's going to host a garage sale on their own driveways, and hopefully clean out some of their clutter.
What was the date for that?
That's also on Saturday, starting at 9 a.m. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rima.
Yes, I would just have an announcement that on June the 1st, we have a neighborhood meeting regarding a proposed development on 114 Blake Street. And people will know that that address is the former Simcoe Motel. And we have a neighborhood meeting starting at 5. It's virtual, and people need to register through our city's website. So that's June the 1st at 5 o'clock.
Thank you. Councillor Kungle.
Just a quick piece, because I'm not sure if it overlaps yours, Acting Mayor Barry Ward. Leading up to World Migratory Bird Day this Saturday. Saturday is a hot day for resident activities. There are 8 different free activities across our respective wards. And so if you're interested in learning about birding or your own backyard area and some of the green spaces it has to offer, it's free. You can register by going to natureberry.com. Their website will actually take you down to an email registration. There's still room and capacity around those 8 walks, and they're family friendly. So the majority of them do start at 10. The odd one starts at 9, but between Johnson's Beach, Hewitt's Creek, Bear Creek, by Edge Hill and Miller, Dorian Parker Center, Lampman Park, South Shore, and maybe a couple others. So enjoy getting out there and birding. And lastly, as a daughter of a nurse, with National Nurses Week coming up, I just wanted to say to all those that I've been able to interact with over the past 2 years of COVID as well, but I know Simcoe County did an outreach, but thank you to all those nurses across various sectors and all those that support nurses.
Okay, thank you. Any other announcements? I've got a few here. One was to declare World Migratory Bird Day, but I also wanted to proclaim May 9th to May 13th as Economic Development Week, and May 14th also as Apraxia Awareness Day. As of May 2nd, residents are able to apply for their digital waterfront parking permit to park for free at select waterfront locations in the city. Residents and non-residents can follow the detailed instructions at barrie.ca waterfront parking, barrie.ca/waterfront parking to apply for a digital permit. For more information about parking in the city, visit barrie.ca/parking. You got a chance to help shape the city's new website. We want your input, so make sure so we can make improvements that can help you find information that interests you. Visit barrie.ca/feedback to tell us what you would like to see on the City of Barrie's new website. The survey closes May 31st. The city's License to Ride program offers Barrie youth aged 12 to 15 free rides on Barrie Transit and access to free recreational opportunities at the city's recreation and community centers throughout the summer season. The program takes place from June 30th until September 5th, and applications to the program are currently open. Application forms and more information on the program are available at License to Ride via barrie.ca/transit. Although almost all COVID-19 restrictions have been lifted, mask or face coverings are still required while riding Barrie Transit or while in the terminal until June 11th. Mackay Road and Veterans Drive intersection will be closed starting May 24th until approximately November 2023 for the construction of new infrastructure to support growth and development in the southeast section of the Salem Secondary Plan area. For more details on the project, visit the Mackay Road West and Veterans Drive improvement page at barrie.ca/roadwork. I Believe it or not, we are at the circulation list. Any comments from the circulation list dated May 2nd? Councillor McCann?
Sorry. Just the first memorandum. I'm not entirely sure. Do we have new city staff members that wrote this program, or is this city staff members that have been here for a while?
So what number are you on?
On the very first one.
A1?
220509. The business data survey.
Oh, is that the May 2nd one? That's the ninth, correct?
Yeah.
We're on the May 2nd one,
Okay,
so.
sorry about that.
Yep. So just May 2nd, if there's no comments, we'll move on to the May 9th. So go ahead, Councillor McCann.
Yeah, just, a couple things I didn't recognize. Al Baldwin, Business Development Officer, is that a new position, or has that been in the city of Barrie for a while? Maybe to Acting Mayor Ward, or to...
I'm not sure, to Mr. Proust, maybe?
Through you, Acting Mayor Ward, to Councillor McCann, I think Ms. Schlichter is still on the line. She can certainly address it.
That's right. Ms. Schlichter, are you on the line?
I am, thank you. Good evening, Deputy Mayor Ward, and through you to Councillor McCann. Ms. La Balogon, she is a Business Development Officer. It is part of our approved complement. She's been away on mat leave and has just returned.
Sorry, so she is a full-time staff member?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And then the D. Brooke Bishop, also a full-time staff member?
Through you, Deputy Mayor Ward, to Councillor McCann. Yes, he is. That is the management complement that staff approved with, or sorry, that council approved with the 2021 budget.
Right, okay. All right, and then while I have you on the phone, if you don't mind, Acting Mayor Ward, is just maybe this memorandum was a little vague, I guess. Maybe some of the outcomes, maybe you can do a little more explanation on the memorandum.
Through you, Deputy Mayor Ward, to Councillor McCann. Sure, I'm happy to comment on the memorandum. The memorandum was just to give an update on the business data survey and its status, and that we are getting ready to bring on the students to go out and do the door-to-door survey again, as we did last year. We presented a couple of weeks ago to City Building Committee launching the online portal that gave the results from the first survey that we did in 2021. So that is available online. But basically what we are doing is, and this is similar across several municipalities across Ontario and most specifically in the GTA, is doing, getting a full on the street account of who's here from our businesses and validating who's here and employees, and getting some base data that allows us to understand as we get into year over year employment growth, trending, types of uses within our industrial and commercial areas. And that supports both economic development functions, it supports planning functions, transit, and some other departments across the city as we look at some of our decision making.
Sorry, Acting Mayor Ward, and that is going to be completed when? September 22nd?
Through you, Deputy Mayor Ward, to Councillor McCann. So we use, our students are brought on board to support the initiative. So they are just onboarding now. So they will be out, I would say, in the next few weeks, starting that process, and they do it over the course of the summer. So it should be wrapped by the end of August.
So September 22nd, then it should be completed for council to review?
We will aim to have some of that preliminary data ready. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other comments on the circulation list? See none. We are adjourned. We still have an hour of sunlight. Get out there and enjoy it. The next next City Council meeting will be held on Monday, May 16th at 7 p.m. General Committee meeting is adjourned.
Thanks. Good night.